Hello there, the bearded burbler from down there, and today I'm back at Brickenden Estate. I know I did one of these about a year and a half ago. Well, here I am again exploring a bit more, because there is more to see. So Brickenden Estate, the home of the Archers. Let's go and see what we can find. Brickenden Estate, just outside of Longford, was actually established in the 1830s by William Archer, the brother of the Archer who established Woolmer's Estate, which itself is on the other side of the Macquarie River, directly opposite from this one. The buildings, many of them date back to that time, including these barns and outbuildings. They are very impressive in their own right and originally ran shingle roofs, although the main barn, well, it's the only one of its type in the Southern Hemisphere. Associated with this, you will find a lot of original machinery and fittings, and the buildings themselves, while they are not fully restored, are certainly very serviceable. Modern additions, including the archery, are certainly well worth having a look at as well. One of the highlights is in fact William Archer's cottage, which still stands exactly as it was when William Archer lived in it, and he lived in this cottage prior to actually building the Brickenden Estate that you see today. Very impressive indeed, and it forms a little street of convict-built buildings associated, including the Overseer's Cottage and the shearing shed. Now, the shearing shed, it is still serviceable to this day and provided one of the main sources of income for the estate through the wool clip. They are looking, though, at building a brand new shearing shed and relegating this one back to history. Off the back of that is the brick granary, and as you can see, it is impressive in its own right. Certainly well worth a look. Now, many of the buildings on this site do date back to convict times and were in fact built by convict labour, and associated with those buildings you can actually sense the history associated with it. Also on site you will find a little chapel, because in those days the requirements for having convicts on site were that you ministered to their souls as much as you ministered to their bodies. And therefore this chapel has stood on this site for a very, very long time, over 150 years, and still is serviceable to this very day. The cookhouse still stands, and it has its fireplace and baking oven still intact. And of course, for the outbuildings, we will be complete without the outhouse, the long drop still sitting exactly as it was back in the day. Directly across the road from this part of the estate is the coachman's cottage and main buildings, and this forms the actual Brickenden building itself, in which the Archers still live, and an impressive Georgian-style building it is. Perhaps not as ornate as Woolmer's across the river, but certainly very serviceable, very comfortable, and it populated by 7 generations of Archers who still own the property to this day. The gardens around that are actually renowned all around Tasmania as being extremely impressive, including the Rose Garden. It is something to see, something you really need to experience. All out there in what we like to call the 2-hour circle. We'll see you next time. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel.